The retreat was supposed to be a healing moment. A reset for the cast of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta Season 13. A chance to step away from the chaos. A moment to breathe, reflect, and rebuild. But as the cast gathered together for what was meant to be a restorative trip, no one could have predicted what would unfold. What was supposed to be a peaceful getaway turned into an explosive battleground of emotions, hurt feelings, and threats. It all started, as these things often do, with something small, just a petty exchange between Bambi and Spice. It was the kind of sharp-tongued clash fans had seen before. The kind that usually fizzled out with a few harsh words and a quick apology, but this time, it felt different. The tension in the room was thick, the air charged with something unspoken. And it didn't take long for things to go from lighthearted to dangerous. Bambi and Spice were at it again, exchanging barbs about who was fake and who was real, both women having their usual jabs at one another. Spice threw shade first, calling Bambi out in front of the group, and Bambi was quick to fire back. "You always got something slick to say," Bambi said, her voice steady but tinged with heat. Spice wasn't backing down, brushing her braids off her shoulder like the words didn't faze her. "Nah, you just sensitive. Don't blame me if your truth sounds like shade," she shot back, smirking as she took a sip from her drink. That was it. That small moment of tension set off a chain reaction. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to watch the women go back and forth. Phones came out. Cameras were on. Everyone was already filming. The quiet buzz of whispers began as the room filled with that unmistakable energy, the feeling that something was about to blow up. Yandy, ever the peacemaker, leaned toward Mendeecees, whispering in his ear, trying to keep the situation from escalating. But it was too late. The fuse had been lit, and there was no turning back. What no one had realized in that moment, though, was that Erica Mena had been sitting there, simmering. She wasn't part of the argument. She wasn't even involved, but something about the way Bambi and Spice were going at each other had struck a nerve. You could see it in her body, tightness in her posture, the way her jaw clenched, the way her eyes darted around the room. She wasn't just a passive observer, she was waiting, watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. And that moment came when Bambi threw out the accusation of fake friendships. The comment that everyone was only showing up when the cameras were rolling. Erica's eyes locked onto Mendeecees and Yandy, and she didn't hold back. "That's funny," she said loudly, her voice cutting through the tension. "Some people here really love to perform when they think nobody's watching." Mendeecees raised an eyebrow, looking confused. "What's that supposed to mean?" he asked, his voice low but firm. Erica smirked, her eyes narrowing. "You and your picture-perfect wife need to stop acting like you're above the mess, when, half the time, you're stirring it." Yandy's expression faltered. She blinked, caught off guard by the direct hit. "Erica, this ain't got nothing to do with us," she said, her voice trying to remain calm but carrying an edge of frustration. Erica wasn't done. She stood up, her movements deliberate, as her voice escalated. "A clean slate," she repeated, sarcastically, throwing the words back at Mendeecees. "Nah, you don't get to show up after everything and pretend like you're not part of the problem." The room grew quieter, every eye in the space now on Erica. Phones came out faster, people started recording. The tension was building to a breaking point, and no one knew how to stop it. Mendeecees looked around at the cast, his face shifting between confusion and frustration. He raised his hands, trying to defuse the situation. "We're supposed to be here for a fresh start, not all this," he said, his voice steady but his posture defensive. But Erica wasn't listening. She took a step closer to him, her voice rising, cutting through his attempts to calm things down. "You want to play innocent?" she asked, her voice growing sharper. "But I remember the things you've said about me. The little comments, the side conversations you thought I didn't hear." She pointed directly at him. "Don't lie," she hissed, her finger inches from his face. Mendeecees shook his head, his lips tight. "I don't even know what you're talking about," he said, trying to play it cool, but the tension in his voice betrayed him. He stepped back slightly, but Erica wasn't having it. She pushed forward, continuing her attack. "You and your wife love to act like you're above it all, like you don't gossip, like you don't get messy behind people's backs. But I see it all. And you," Erica turned toward Yandy now, her finger pointing at her. "You just stand there, letting him talk slick, pretending you're not part of it." Yandy's face went cold. The calm she'd tried to hold onto was cracking. "You've got some nerve, Erica," she said, her voice low and measured. "If you've got a problem with me, say it. But don't drag my marriage into this mess." Erica let out a bitter laugh. Oh, it's a mess now. I thought you were above the mess, Yandy. Isn't that what you always preach about? Family, healing, but you pick and choose who gets your grace. The room was dead silent, the tension thick in the air. Mendeecees stepped between them, his hands raised in an attempt to intervene. We don't need this, he said, his voice trying to calm the storm. This is supposed to be a fresh start, but it's clear we've got some issues to work out. But Erica wasn't listening. Her voice rose again, louder and more forceful. You think you can just play the peacekeeper and nobody's going to call you out, she snapped. Nah, not this time. And then, in a moment that sent chills through the room, Erica dropped the bomb. Her voice was calm, but the threat in it was unmistakable. Keep talking, slick, and I promise you, I'll have you locked up. The room went completely still. Yandy's mouth opened, but no words came out. Mendeecees stepped back, stunned. What did you just say? He asked, his voice barely a whisper, his face a mask of disbelief. Erica crossed her arms, unfazed by the stunned silence around her. You heard me, she said, her tone unwavering. I'm tired of the games. Keep pushing me, and we'll see how fast things go left. Everyone in the room could feel it, the shift. The atmosphere had gone from tense to downright combustible. Bambi let out a low whistle. This just went to another level, she murmured under her breath, already pulling out her phone to capture the moment. Mendeecees stood there, his jaw tight, trying to process what had just happened. He couldn't understand how things had escalated so quickly, how a simple conversation had turned into a threat. The producers, frozen behind the scenes, weren't sure what to do. Should they cut the scene? Should they let it play out? No one had expected things to spiral this fast, and now they were all caught in the aftermath. Erica wasn't done though. She took a few steps back, her arms crossed over her chest, her body rigid with anger. You ever had enough? She asked, almost to herself, like just done with people acting like they can play with your name and your story and think there won't be consequences. Yandy's voice broke through, low and strained. Erica, no one's playing with your name, she said, trying to reason. We didn't even bring you up tonight. This is all you. Erica turned slowly, her eyes blazing with a mix of anger and hurt. Oh, so now I'm making it up, she spat. You and Mendeecees always act so clean, so innocent. I say one thing, and now I'm the villain. But when y'all talk behind closed doors, it's a whole different story. Mendeecees stepped forward, his expression dark and intense. We're not doing this, he said, his voice tight. You can't just threaten people like that, not here, not in front of everyone. Erica stood tall, unyielding. Watch me, she said, her voice cold. Because next time, I won't just say it, I'll do it. The room was electric now, charged with raw emotion and unresolved tension. No one knew what would happen next. Would Erica follow through on her threat? Would Mendeecees respond? Or would this volatile moment end the way so many love and hip-hop moments had before, with a lot of drama and no real resolution? But one thing was certain. Things had just gone to a whole new level. And nothing would ever be the same. The energy in the room was unbearable. It wasn't just the threat that Erica had made though that certainly hung heavy in the air. It was the sheer weight of everything that had built up to this moment. The tension between Erica Mendeecees and Yandy had been simmering for too long, and now it had all erupted in one explosive confrontation. No one knew how to handle it. Even the producers, who had seen their fair share of drama, were frozen, unsure of how to intervene in this raw, real-life breakdown. Erica's words, "I'll have you locked up," had echoed through the room, leaving an uncomfortable silence in their wake. People shifted uncomfortably, not knowing whether to break the silence with a laugh or to just let the gravity of the moment sink in. The cameras were still rolling, capturing every tense second. Yandy stood there, her body rigid, trying to keep it together. Her hands shook just slightly enough for anyone paying attention to see that this was more than just a petty argument. This was real, and it was hurting her, and it was hurting her.